Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Let's go. So a task force sent out to Pennsylvania today. I saw 4 people. They were dressed in business casual. They weren't wearing the Men in Black suits. They didn't have on the Ray-Bans. They didn't have on any special equipment or radars or those little gauges from Ghostbusters or anything. They just went out and there was a lame little microphone stand with a handful of microphones on it. They gave a few minutes to the media and then kind of moved on. I don't feel like they're taking this very serious. So the task force at the attempted assassination site, my take on it means very little compared to a former Secret Service agent. So we brought on Robert Caltabiano's back on the James Show. This looks like a very low effort investigation, Robert. Am I just naive?
No, I think you're spot on. My view is it's grandstanding 101. As we all know, this is the political year, and I think that both sides kind of exploit things. But you hit the nail on the head. You have a few people in almost suits going out there, really no knowledge, investigative knowledge, and what are they really going to seek? What are they really going to find by going to the field, going to that building? Over a month later. It's very much what I would call political optics.
So we have the Secret Service investigating this, or is this the FBI investigating the Secret Service? Whatever it is, it always feels suspicious when the government's investigating itself to see if the government did anything wrong. That's
the fox guarding the hen house. I think you and I have talked about it for years. I've been talking about this, is that the accountability in government is pretty crazy. We're still trying to understand what happened to President Kennedy in 1963, and we'll never fully know. And I think you and I, when this happened, spoke about this. I said that we will probably never know fully to the extent of what's going on. So let's look at the big picture. You have this U.S. Secret Service that will internally investigate what their agents have done or didn't do. And then you have the FBI that will kind of investigate the Secret Service and the surrounding circumstances. One of the issues is that if you're an FBI agent, you don't fully understand or know what a Secret Service agent does in their protective mission, and vice versa. With the fact is that the Secret Service usually is not the lead investigator for, let's say, homicides, and so sometimes it's just a calamity of mistakes or missteps. And I hope that we'll get an answer, but I'm not too optimistic.
Well, Robert, here's the question I want to ask the people listening too, and you can call in with your answer. Would you be shocked if there was another assassination attempt before the election, or really even after the election? I mean, there's some people that I see online, they're basically expecting another assassination attempt based on the reaction to the first one.
I think that the Secret Service at this point is putting everything possible into, whether it's Vice President Harris or President Trump or Mr. Vance or Governor Walz, in their protection. But again, you can never guarantee, and I will always say this 100%. The Secret Service in their mission has to be correct 100% of the time. And look what happened, as we both know, in Pennsylvania. They were correct, let's say, 80% of the time on that. And so just a slight deviation, sure, we could have a catastrophe in the making again. I'm going to err to the side of caution that I think that it won't happen. But again, too, the rhetoric, and I think, James, that's what it's about. It's why is this happening? The visceral hate, and I've said it, and I've got slammed for it by some people on the other side of the aisle against Donald Trump, in my mind, just pushes the gambit on people that, almost gives them, hey, it's okay to go after this man. And until the political side of it ceases, I think that this is always going to be a danger, whether he gets back in the White House or not.
I'm reminded of when the Republican baseball practice got shot up, and there were people, I mean, not just weirdos on Twitter, but people on TV, politicians. One of my close friends said, well, look, if the man's trying to take away Obamacare, he's trying to rip away health care for millions of people. That's almost a reasonable reaction for someone who, no, stop. This is where the hyperbole gets you. It's like they're almost admitting that they're inciting violence against the guy when they say things like that.
Well, when you look at political hatred, and it goes back to, I remember Kathy Griffin with President Trump's head in effigy and Madonna blowing up the White House and a lot of Hollywood people, and it continues and continues. And then people will push back and say, well, President Trump says this. And I will say, what did he say? Did he truly incite violence? And, you're going to have people on your show that will get mad at me for saying he has not excited violence in the way that you see on the other side of the aisle. And I don't want to get too political, but the facts are the facts. And when that happens, all you need is one person that's mentally unstable to take those visceral hate or those visceral lies and believe that it's the truth, and then they'll act upon it. And that's what I'm worried about. More than anything else is the continual vitriol of this man and somebody else acting upon it.
Well, how much of it goes the other way? Is there anyone being excited to violence by the rhetoric of Team Red versus Team Blue?
I've not seen it. If I've seen it, I would talk about it also. It goes on both sides. But then also you have to look what has happened to Robert Kennedy. It took him forever before the Biden administration even gave him Secret Service protection from his family's history, let alone, the political side of the nature of what he went through. So, I am an honest caller. I call it in the middle. It tilts left, and it's left against right now the former president and his run for the presidency.
Do you think RFK being put in charge of these agencies could make some lasting changes?
I think that, isn't it nice to see that sometimes maybe people, and I was in government for many years, trying to get along and actually building something together. Think about all our listeners. We all want good food. We all want clean water. We all want those things, whether you're right or left. It's a matter of getting the means to it. And I don't see it currently. And I think many other people don't see it currently. Again, it goes back to, what are you hating Donald Trump for? If you're hating him just because of the way that he speaks, look at what he does. Look at what his policies are going to be, and then have a discussion. Unfortunately, people don't do that anymore. They go back out to the hatred and also the violence behind it. And when you have a current president that just a few days before the attempted assassination used the word crosshairs, or that he wanted to take him in an alley and beat him up, what is the signal sending to our children also when you hear that?
So are you leaning more toward this guy acted alone, or more toward this guy had some help somewhere? Nobody ever does things in my mind just fully alone. It even goes back to, let's say, 1963. Lee Harvey Oswald was trained. He had some type of help, whether, at the site in Dallas or not. Here, I'm looking at, you think about it, he was spotted in almost an hour before walking around. Obviously, he had some ideas of what he was going to do. He shimmied up the air conditioning unit to get on that roof. I'm not saying somebody helped him, but somewhere along the way, he had to get some type of a knowledge of what exactly he was going to do. And I'm still also concerned about what he had in those cryptic different communications that he had. Will we know about it? Probably not. My thing is if it's something bad, you and I are not going to know. Well, we got every grandma that loitered through Statuary Hall on January 6th. They had time for that, Robert.
Again, everything is optics. And when you keep pushing the narrative on one side, what happens is that what I just said, you're going to get somebody mentally unstable, whether this young crook, this horrible man, what he did, and just pushes it, and then they act upon it. And that's what I'm more worried about. You see now President Trump with behind the bulletproof glass. I know that he said he's going to go back to Butler. I think that's important. It's a moment just like where we were after 9/11, and people were afraid to get on the airplanes again. And it's that type of thing that we cannot let the bad people get away with this and change our way of life. You can't let the way that our politicians, whether it's Vice President Harris or President Trump, go out there and meet the people. When we do that, then we cave into the crazies. And I give President Trump all the credit in the world to get back up there in front of these crowds. And just imagine all our listeners out there, you were just shot at, you had a piece of your ear coming off, and now you're going back out there. What goes on in his mind? You have to be a very strong individual to be able to do that. I don't know many people that would be able to do it, but he's doing it.
Where can we find your work outside of the James Show? You got anything you're promoting these days, or just?
Yeah, just find us on Only in America. We try to talk about what is good about our country and how we can do something about it. And I appreciate you. And again, hopefully we'll get more answers. But again, James, I'm not too sure about it.
All right, Only in America is where you can find him. Robert Caltabiano, former Secret Service agent. Thanks for being on the James Show.
Thank you. God bless.
Well, that's not real reassuring, but at least it's the truth. I'd rather have the not so happy truth than a fantasy. 800-288-9227 is the phone number. The question is, would you be shocked if there was another assassination attempt? I have some people that are sending me messages on Facebook. They're basically expecting another assassination attempt. I saw Alex Jones is expecting one too, but he's been wrong before. What do you think? 800-288-9227. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey, welcome back to the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If y'all could quit braiding each other's hair for a minute, you can call the show 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Man, they had the task force for the Trump shooting investigation. They were out at Butler, Pennsylvania, reviewing the scene. And look, it's been like 6 weeks since this happened. This happened on July 13th. I'll probably never forget that. It's 4 people. That's the whole team. Only one of them was wearing a tie. None of them were wearing a coat. It's like, really, we just got 4 randos in business casual, and we dropped them off. They didn't have like any equipment with them. They didn't have like a bomb sniffing robot or a drug dog or any drones or anything. They didn't even have a briefcase. They didn't even have ties. Well, there was a brother on the end that had a tie, but the other 3 were dressed like me. You're supposed to dress nice. Look, I'm just wearing a normal old collared shirt. Got buttons on it. That's as nice as it gets. I'm not wearing a sport coat. I'm not wearing a tie. I'm not wearing Ray-Bans. I mean, that one guy didn't even brush his hair. This is the Cracker Jack team we got on it. We got the A team on it. Good Lord, man. That doesn't even look JV. This looks like the freshman B team. This looks like the goobers that were guarding him in the first place. I hope y'all can get to the bottom of this mystery, because it's not looking too good thus far, judging by the press availability that I saw today. So, you know what? If they're not going to do a better job, like being more transparent and getting the info out and getting this story resolved, I welcome conspiracy theories on this. They're asking for it at this point. No, I don't really have a solid opinion on whether or not he acted alone, because we don't have enough information on this situation. We don't have an explanation for the overseas accounts. We don't have an explanation for where you got the rangefinder. We don't have an explanation on how, because you've seen the videos. You did a little research on your own. I know you. You went out and looked, and you saw the people going, hey, he's on the roof. Hey, officer, Secret Service guy. Hey, Agent Smith from the Matrix. He's on the roof. He's right behind that. Yeah. The guy up there, swinging around the scoped rifle, the hunting rifle. Yeah, that maybe that might be an issue of some sort. That may be a security. I haven't had any formal training, but that looks like it might be a dangerous situation. You saw those videos, and you haven't got an explanation for him. And I don't want you to let it go. Just like I don't want you to let all the COVID stuff go. This is another one too. You can't let them get away with this. So 800-288-9227. Did he act alone? If he didn't act alone, then who did he act with? Because, and look, it's not just like I want to keep this story going just to make Trump a sympathetic figure. It's that if it is the FBI behind this or some agency within the government behind it, then you have reason to believe that another one's probably going to happen before the election. I know that's what Alex Jones is saying too. I don't watch a show, but when it shows up on my Twitter feed and it's a nice, like, digestible 30-second or maybe 2-minute bit, I like to check in and seeing where he's at. Of course, he thinks there's a conspiracy behind it. Of course, he knows the guy didn't act alone. I'm not going to go that far, but I can't talk down anyone like an Alex Jones, because they are being real shady about the information and the investigation following up the shooting. Now, we have the shooting happen. There was a little bit of excitement, thrill for Trump that went down. Biden dropped out. Kamala comes in. She gets a bump. Tim Walz gets announced. She got a little bit of a bump. DNC happens. Was there a little bit of a bump? Not really. That's the news. We don't have a whole week's worth of polling to go on, but we have some over the last few days. And look, let's go issue by issue. You can go to almost any source and get the same conclusions here. Trump is still polling ahead of Kamala Harris when it comes to the issues. If you isolate them out, so he outpolls her on economy, he outpolls her on crime, he outpolls her on inflation, he outpolls her on immigration. And this is the tough part about being on Team Red or whoever's against the media your entire life. If people truly voted based on policy and not whether or not you hate the guy, not whether or not he's on your team or he's wearing the right color jersey, or if it's a he or a she or a person of color or a white guy, or if you actually voted based on policy, Trump wins. That's not where we're at. So look, that's not meant to make you feel better. It's meant to make you feel worse. Now, Trump is losing slightly in the head-to-head matchup, and we know it does. The national poll is just sort of indicative of where we are as a country. But what matters is the little states in the middle. It doesn't matter if they win the coast and get nothing in the middle. No matter how good the national polls look, you're going to have to win some of these states that you just call flyover, whatever. So how is he doing in that? How is that electoral map? No movement whatsoever since the beginning of the DNC. No movement actually since Tim Walz announced. There was a little bit of movement when Biden dropped out and Kamala was the presumed nominee, but it is frozen since then. If you add in the toss-ups, or if you take out the toss-ups and just the leaning, not within the margin of error states, Trump and Vance are ahead 219 to 208. Ooh, that's a little close, isn't it? There's 111 toss-ups still on the map. If you resolve all of those, whichever way they're leaning now, whether it's within the margin of error or not, Trump and Vance are still ahead, 287 to 251. The bump has stopped. It hasn't receded, but at least it stopped. So that's what we have. What is it, 4 days now after the DNC is over? That's time to get some preliminary polling in there. Don't get too excited about it. But that's where the polls stand right now. And it looks like if we had the election today and all these polls are correct, and really polls lean left, Trump underperforms in polls quite a bit in the last few elections, then you win. Be happy about that. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Lisa Miller, and we're going to talk about the politics of joy and fear. These are two terms that keep being used a lot. Not like constitutional, not like separation of powers, not like statecraft, not like tax policy. Joy and fear. They've dumbed it down that much. Yes, joy and fear. How can you win on these terms? 800-288-9227. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.